So I really like actions because it speeds up your workflow, especially if you have any kind of, a procedure like the frequency separation where it just takes a lot of preparation. Then it just makes more sense to do it once and record an action at the same time. However, if you ever lose then the action, then you probably also have forgotten how to create the frequency separation. So maybe I suggest that you might want to do it a few times just to get the feeling for it, and then when you think, okay, now really understood the whole principle behind it, then to create an action just to speed up your workflow. So for that we just go into our actions. So if you don't have the actions open, it's easy to get them. So you just go over your window and there you see actions and you click it on. And here I've got my actions right underneath my layers. And here you see all these colored ones. You can't actually create the action out of this field. You have to open it up into the boring field where it means button mode. So now it's all in gray. It's still the same action, but this is now from where you can create a new action. So let's go into new action and we will call this frequency separation. So just say new frequency separation, because there might be one already in my action, so I don't get confused. And there's already a set frequency separation, but let's put this into default action. And so that I find it a little bit more quick, I just say, let's do it in blue. Okay, so I have my name, I have my set, and I also could now say I could give it a function key, but for this I will just not do that and just give it a blue color. And now I go record. And now it's a little bit up to you if you want to do the first step or the second step. I will go for this one into the second step. And again, we need 2 new layers. So we go Shift Alt Command E 2 times, which will give me my new layers. And now it's really important that you name them, because there's a funky thing within the actions where now you're putting a new action or you record it whilst you already have a lot of layers open. If you want to use the same action next time right onto the background layer, for example, and you don't name these layers, then Photoshop might have a problem with that and give you error messages. So basically the actions, they only work if you have the exact, the same names and the same amount of layers open what you have right now, which is obviously very unlikely because you might use the actions in between or in the beginning or whenever. While you are working. So just go ahead to avoid this error message and just name your action or name your layers here. So the first layer we want to call again, let's not call it tonality, because in the apply image we might get confused. Let's call it new tonality. Just now for our action. And then we call this layer again, new details. Oops. And this way we know that this is now for our action. All right. So in between you could already, if you want to work on a new layer, you could also say a new layer and you call this maybe color. And then this is also recorded in your action. And now you go back onto the new tonality and do the same thing again. We go into blur, Gaussian blur, and you could also now do this with a smart object where you say to this layer first be a smart object. Then you go into your Gaussian blur, and this way again with a double click you could change this later. But I found that any value between 10 and 20 is normally quite good. So if I would go and say maybe somewhere in the middle, maybe something like, let's say 14, and say OK. And then on the details, we will go in and say image, apply image. And then we will go here, not into the tonality, because that was the old one. So now we have to go into new tonality, because this one is the one underneath here. And then we go with the subtract and the scale of 2 and 128. And we say OK. And from there we will go into our blending mode again to get our color image back and say linear light. And from here we go and just click on the color one and the new tonality with the command button, and we just put them all into this folder. We will call this folder frequency separation. And then we can already say maybe you want a mask on it, if you want to mask anything out, or for now we can also just say, okay, this is now the end of our frequency separation, and then we just press stop. Okay, so if we now click on this thing here, then we go back into our button mode and we're looking down, 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 down. Maybe I can just make this bigger, and then you have here your new frequency separation. So let's delete this for now and let's see if we play it that it works. And we just click on it and then it goes through all these steps and see how fast that was. It's already finished. And then you have your new details, color and tonality, and from there you can work then as we did before on our frequency separation.